Hello, dear audience. I am Dr. Sohail Qureshi, and I'm here with my program Sharp Edge. The world has shaken again. Almost a century-old political and military conflict in the Middle East, in between Israel and Palestine. It has started all over again with more blood, with more destruction, with more carnage. The attack of Hamas from Palestinian area to Israel, which has seen over 1,000 civilians and military personnel, including men, women, and children, killed on the Israeli side, and the reprisal by Israel, and killing probably close to 1,000 people so far. It has shaken the world. This was the barbarity that was not seen in decades, and it is very sad to see that both sides are to be blamed to a level of disappointment for the world, for the people around the world. This issue is almost a century old. When the Jews from the Europe, they started coming to the Palestine with a promised land that was promised to them by the British, who were actually ruling that area under the British protectorate after the demise of the Ottoman Empire. We will have Hamid Al-Mashriqi in this program on a video call, and Professor Dr. Huma Baqai from Pakistan. And in our studio, we have our colleague, Mr. Kevwe Okorodudu. So, welcome, Kevwe.
Hello and welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming. And it is a very sad day or sad moment in history when we see so much of a bloodshed in the span of just a few days. And it has really shaken the world. What do you make up of this?
I feel that it's really unfortunate that it's got to this head. And I really hope that there will be some suitable resolution which will be able to bring this conflict to an end. Because if there's no suitable solution, it could spill out, as you rightfully mentioned earlier on, into a World War III, which we don't really want.
Yeah, so much of a destruction, so much of a carnage starting from this attack on civilians and men, women, and children by Hamas. This is unheard of. And obviously, knowing Islam a little bit, I know that this is not what the teachings of Islam are. What do you think of it?
It's very, very unfortunate that it's taken place the way it is, because I always believe when you see things like this, one side always believes that they are right over the other. But on what's the problem? The main problem is that a lot of innocent lives have been lost as a result of this. So maybe if there's some suitable dialogue and discourse can take place between both sides, that may help to ease the tension and misunderstanding. Because as you rightfully said, it goes against the ideology of the teaching of what you've just mentioned, Islam. So if they can actually have a suitable discourse and dialogue, that may be able to help resolve the tensions which have taken place.
Yeah, Gaza Strip, which is a very small piece of land, about 25 miles long and about 7 miles wide at its widest, is surrounded all around by land and sea by Israel, and actually in siege for a very long time. It has a very small border, about 11 kilometers, with Egypt, which is the only lifeline. And interestingly, the entire infrastructure, the electricity and the power and the fuel and even the water come from Israel. So some call it the largest open prison in the world. And since 1967, the situation has been status quo, where almost 2 million people are suffering because of this unsolved agenda. Israel has been actually blamed for a number of human rights violations and excessive force, and still we haven't seen anything coming out of it. And eventually it is leading to this. Do you think that this could be a turning point now that everything has been internationalized?
It could be a turning point, but how far the turning point will be, that is the main question. because as you rightfully mentioned earlier on, these conflicts have been taking place for a long, long time. But this one is probably worst of all so far because it was a surprise attack. Now, whether it will be a turning point will be the big question for the international scene to really give more view and shed more light on. But at present, we really don't know whether any change will happen from this conflict, because this is an age-old conflict. It's always been about territory. It's all been about land. So hopefully maybe it could be a turning point for two of the opposing sides to come together and reach a resolution. Because as you rightfully said, they have a lot of resources. They had a lot of things that they've used to impact the world and impact our society. So we do hope it will be a turning point.
Okay. Yeah, let's hope for the best.
Yes.
We are now joined by our first guest, Mr. Hamid Al-Mashriqi, on the video line. So let's speak to him. Hamid, you have a keen eye on the global affairs, and especially what's happening in Middle East. So would you like to shed some light on what's happening there?
To be honest, whatever happened in last 96 hours is very sad, very catastrophic. And especially, we all know that the way, Israel army and the government is being kept siege of Gaza for many years, and then the illegal settlers there. And then if we look into the entire matter, although it looks like that this time Hamas attacked first, which is fact, and it was very surprise attack from Hamas, and that's why Israel have so many casualties and so many losses as well. But at the same time, that this we must remind that this is the longest ongoing dispute. The cause of Palestine, of independent Palestine. And there are many reasons that now this is the time. The world needs to understand that retaliation by Israel of this Hamas attack is not going to resolve it. And we have seen the way, Israeli forces are, playing with the human rights, and the way they are, going beyond any human rights and war ethics. And I would say they are doing a war crime by doing what they're doing in Gaza. At the same time, this is an opportunity for the world to resolve this issue. And this issue must be resolved on the basis of the two-state solution, which is very clearly defined by many resolutions of United Nations and so many, Oslo Pact and other agreements, if I would like to remind you. So I think if Israel thinks that by using excessive power, by using too much force, and by doing what they're doing, killing innocent Palestinians, killing kids, attacking on schools and mosque, and making the entire Gaza city like a rumble, it's not going to resolve it. This is the time when world leaders have to sit together and find a solution, a permanent solution for it. We have seen by expanding the settlements, colonies of Jewish people, it has done nothing but damage the entire cause. I think this is a time when world has to realize, first of all. Secondly, there is one more thing, Dr. Suhail, which I'm very much worried, that if this war escalates, like if Hezbollah involves in it, if they drag Iran into it, if America have already sent their forces and have sent their vessels, naval vessels, to participate from Israel and to further attack on Palestinians, I think there is a high chance of escalating or expansion of this war, and Middle East and the world cannot take the risk of any kind of big war in the region, because we have seen already the catastrophe and the effects of Ukraine-Russia war. The world is going through already so many crises. At the same time, if we think that by pushing them to the wall, the Palestinians, the way Israeli government is saying, the way Israel foreign minister and prime minister is describing Palestinians, it is against all the human rights and ethics.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It cannot be the justification of the attack by Hamas, especially
Exactly.
attacking and killing women and children and civilians, and especially a group which boasts upon the teaching of Islam, which is totally against it. What would you say to that particular tactic that Hamas has adopted this time, unlike in the previous conflicts, that causing so much of civilian and innocent people's deaths, killings, and of course suffering?
I would say that, I mean, we all condemn losses of innocent, kids, females, old, elderly persons, because it is against the ethics of Islam, it is against the teachings of Islam, it is against the war teachings of Islam, it is against the ethics of general ethics of any war. So, I mean, there is no way that anybody would appreciate what Hamas did in terms of targeting any civilians or innocent kids or families. But at the same time, it has to be implemented for the both sides. Israel is doing it for the last many years. We have seen the way they killed innocent child, the way they killed journalists, the way they killed, attacked on hospitals, the way they attacked on Gaza schools. So, I mean, there is no justification from what Hamas is doing in terms of attacking on innocent. It is a war crime. It has to be condemned. There is no justification. But at the same time, as Jeremy Corbyn said today or yesterday, that, I mean, we have to look the matter in its global perspective. That what Israel is doing, or do we not need to resolve the issue, or we just need to talk about it? I am saying that this is the time to resolve the issue without even further escalating this war, without even further, adding the fire on the fuel, without even going into further, war or further, conflicts. But there is no doubt that, I mean, and we have seen that Hamas leadership have said that they are going to respect the war ethics. So I think this kind of statement must come from Israeli forces as well.
Okay, don't you think that Hamas in particular and Palestine in general, they have lost a little bit of, considerable amount of moral edge, that their campaign for two states or the freedom of Palestinian had been running for a very long time, but it appears that this time pretty much the entire world is condemning this quite barbaric attack. And it is no justification, it's not reciprocity, what Israel had been doing. But let us focus on this first part, how it all started.
Yeah, I mean, there is no justification for that. I mean, I fully agree with you. There is no reciprocal for that. I agree with you. And I agree that Hamas had lost a little bit moral edge for the Palestinian cause, especially when we have seen that, media and all over the modern media, international media, they are highlighting everything, even the small things, what is happened by the Hamas militants. But at the same time, I think, as Pope has said from Vatican, that the siege of Gaza is unacceptable. Human rights must have been, respected. So, I mean, if you look at the statement from the Pope today, I mean, it clearly states that the war ethics and there is no justification for any kind of treatment, any kind of bad treatment to the innocent civilians or the kids. But I would say that I think Hamas have to justify and have to clarify it as well, that why did they do that, and they have to stop that to get further support from the rest of the world.
One thing is really concerning, that this is almost a century-old political issue, which became more militant type since 1947, in particular, after the creation of Israel. And then, in 1948, after the first war between the Arab countries and Israel, and so on and so forth. One can easily see the deadliness and the brutality and the cruelty from both sides has really, really increased manifold. And now it appears that it has really touched a very high bar. What is the end game here after this?
Yeah, that is very important question. That this end game is not going to be resolved unless international powers involve themselves in this matter sincerely, and they force to the both parties to resolve the issue without any further war, without any further losses. There is no doubt that both sides, since have done, I would say brutality as well, but the ratio of brutality is non-comparison between Israel and Palestine. If you look at the history, there is no comparison. But still, as per Islamic teaching, if you kill one innocent for no reason, you have killed the entire humanity. So we can never justify any brutality from Hamas being Muslim militants or Muslim freedom fighters. If they want to fight for their Palestine land, they have to do it within the ethics. There is no doubt. But at the same time, I again emphasize that this could be an opportunity after all this catastrophe and after all this war, that it could be taken as an opportunity to resolve this long ongoing dispute. From a political dispute, it has become a war issue. Now it is an ongoing war between both of them, which can destabilize not only the entire region, it can destabilize the entire earth, entire global peace.
Yeah, I think you're right that there is
An
there is an
opportunity.
opportunity in this
Yes.
crisis, and I think as ugly and ghastly the events are from either side, perhaps this is the time that the world powers and the world leaders they get together and address the root cause, the strategy adopted by Hamas and the reaction by Israel. I would say both of them are really over the board, but at the end of the day, this is politics. These are human beings. People all over the world are appalled by what's been happening. And maybe they can see a sign of a long lasting peace between the two nations. So, thank you very much, Hamid. We've been joined by Professor Dr. Huma Baqai from Pakistan, who's a senior strategist and analyst. Dr. Baqai, thank you very much for joining us. You are, I'm sure, watching with horror as we are the unfolding of these events in Palestine once again. Could you please give us your views on what is happening?
The recent conflict in the Middle East is not at a boiling point. It is now explosive. And the explosive character of this particular conflict is going to haunt not just this region, but the rest of the world. We've seen that oil prices are already shrugging up and the conflict is escalating. It is not dwindling down. And Israel is, because of the humiliation it faced, because of the intelligence failure it cannot justify, is out to retaliate in a manner which actually means that it wants to annihilate Hamas and perhaps also the desire for a Palestinian state. Is that possible? I don't see that as an option. A resistance that was able to revive itself after 50 years, despite all the sophistication that Israel stands for. Also, the fact that this war is the most asymmetric war on the face of earth. All of this is indicative of the fact that this conflict is going to haunt Middle East and it's going to haunt the world. Moreover, the double standards are becoming more than glaring. How can you accuse Russia and appreciate Israel or support Israel? How can you support Ukraine for the resistance and downgrade Palestinians for the same? So, people in the third world are asking questions, and this is a world which is now quickly moving towards middle power decisions on global politics. And I think the middle powers will give their verdict, and they already are. Europe is divided over the way the conflict is escalating and the responses that are coming. United Nations, of course, has given its point of view. So I think we need to see if the conscience of the world would be provoked enough to actually have something done here. A two-state solution, which everybody had stopped talking about after the Abraham Accords and subsequent developments, is back on the table, and let's see if it stays there.
Obviously, it is a very sad times or days for Palestine and the Middle East, and it's a very uncertain times. So coming back to Kevwe in our London studio, Kevwe, you heard the opinion, and we had this discussion before. So the world is coming to a point where something must be done. So what do you make out of it? Do you think this is a great opportunity in this abyss of despair that we see ourselves in?
I think it is a great opportunity, actually, for the world to get involved and for the world to intervene. But just how they will do it is the big question mark. But I think right now it is a great opportunity for the world to get involved, to bring a discourse and a dialogue between both opposing parties, both opposing sides, should I say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, dear audience, so I'm sure just like us here in the London studios, all of you are really saddened by this very, very gory conflict that is unfolding right in front of our eyes. Gaza is besieged. There's no electricity, there's no water, there's no food, there's no fuel, and there's a constant bombardment. Over 1,000 sorties of bombing have happened. It all started by Hamas, and that is an act that I think people generally don't like it, even though there was an explanation of the reasons why they ended up doing it. But for the entire world, this was a barbaric scene, or barbaric scenes that are unfolding since last Saturday, whether it is on the Israeli side or Palestinian side, and it must stop. I hope that with this catastrophe that we find ourselves in, where we see so much of deaths and miseries of people, finally a peace accord will come that will bring Israelis and Palestinians living side by side with happiness, joy, and pursuit of their happy life.